Kelly Vaughn, and welcome to Inside Indy. And today we're going to talk to a local author, and she has a new book out, and she's 16 years old, so this is going to be pretty interesting. I'm dying to talk to her about her new book, which is entitled Indescribable Faith by Jenna Wright. And Jenna Wright is our guest here in the studio. Hi, Jenna.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Wow, you have a book out. This is pretty impressive, pretty incredible.
Yeah, it just kind of hit me all at once when I realized it during the publishing process that it was going to be published. I was like, wow, that's scary.
Now, most 16-year-olds, I'm thinking you're on your phone or you're out hanging out with your friends, but you're writing books. So what inspired you to be an author?
I started writing it a few years ago, and it wasn't really an aspiration to be an author so much as it was an English assignment in middle school. And as it kind of progressed, I started expanding on it because I thought it was a good story, something I never heard of before. So I just thought it would never become to be anything. And then my dad sent it in, and they said they had interest in it, and I was surprised. I was like, wow, I actually have good ideas.
Now, when you say your dad sent it in to, who did he send it to?
He sent it to Dorrance Publishing, who said that they had interest in it, and he sent it to another one. So we went with Dorrance Publishing.
Nice, very nice. So you mentioned school, middle school, but I take it you're in high school now.
Yes.
So where do you go to school?
Go to Horizon Christian School. I've been going there for 4 years, but this is my 5th year.
Okay, very good, very good. So tell us about the book. Now, we don't want to give it all away because we want you to go out and buy a copy for somebody for the holidays, for Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. But we have to let them know a little bit about the book. Indescribable Faith, Book 1, Fleeing the EFA.
Yes.
This is a novel, faith-based sci-fi?
Kind of, yeah.
Which I've never heard of, but this is really, really interesting. So tell us about Indescribable Faith.
It's kind of a dystopian novel about, kind of in the future, about Christians fleeing persecution, and Christianity is outlawed by the government, so they have to stay in hiding. And for the main character, Emberline Winston, she has been hiding in the forest by herself for several years now, since her parents died and her family died. So she just is trying to survive in all of this, and she runs into a few other Christians, and she decides to join up with them. And the whole novel is kind of based around her experience with them and just recruiting more Christians. So
where did the concept come from? I mean, you were just sitting at home watching television one day, or you were reading your Bible, or where does the storyline come from?
The concept kind of came from I wanted to write something that was kind of like an action adventure, and I was like, well, somebody, it needs to be kind of action adventure in my mind, but I wanted it to be faith-based also, and I was just then starting to get into dystopian novels like Hunger Games and other things like that. So I was just trying to incorporate all of that, and I wanted it to be different, so that's how I got that concept.
When you write something like this, are you thinking about the book only, or do you write with television in mind, or a movie, or because that's just by what you're telling me, that's what this sounds like. There's the potential for there to be a screenplay written and then a movie based on the book.
I think it was based mostly on just the book concept at first, but I obviously had like visions of what it could be if it was a movie. Right now that isn't really a possibility at this point because obviously we need more sales and things like that. So if it actually picks up and people actually like it, then maybe in the future that could be a possibility.
Okay. Book 1. So this is not the only novel. Is there going to be a series of them?
It doesn't make sense without a second one because it's kind of left on a cliffhanger. So I am working on the second one right now, but obviously I need more sales because the publishing company is in to make money, and if there aren't enough sales, then they won't see a reason to have a second one. So need people to buy it.
So you heard her say needs more sales, and one thing, phenomenal book, but to support our young people. Okay, so again, Indescribable Faith, book 1, Fleeing the EFA. Okay, so where can people buy the book? We're going to talk more about it, but I want to get that out there while they're sitting there with their pens or their iPhones, or they can just go online and order it right now while we're talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can find it at barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. I've actually seen it on Walmart's website, just anywhere. You just type it into the search engine, and then they'll have places where you can buy it, but Amazon and Barnes & Noble are the top ones.
Okay. The EFA, explain again what the EFA is in the book.
The EFA is kind of like a government organization. It's called the Eternal Flame Agency, which is kind of like a play on words as far as, because they don't like Christians, so it's almost like they're not doing their work for God. But to them, it's to make sure that the eternal flame of the government and all that they stand for and this kind of like this empire that they've built won't ever die out almost.
Okay.
So it's kind of symbolic in both ways.
Okay. Wow, interesting. You have quite an imagination.
Yeah, I've always liked books, and I'm a reader, so I love to read different books and things like that. So I get a lot of inspiration.
Okay, so who do you like most as far as authors out there? You say you read lots of books.
I like Suzanne Collins because she wrote The Hunger Games. I like J.K. Rowling because of Harry Potter. I like Aaron Hunter, which is like the combination of authors that wrote the Warrior series and things like that, to just writing styles and plot, just things like that. But overall, I like dystopian writers in general.
Okay, but it sounds like you've taken what they've developed, but you're putting more of a Christian slant on it.
Yes.
Because some people are critical of the whole Harry Potter thing, like, oh, witches and things like that. But then you take kind of their style and what they do and give something that Christians could absolutely appreciate and adore. It sounds like.
Yeah, I just want that message of Christianity to be more prevalent in that style of writing, because you don't see it, and in most dystopian societies, there isn't any religion. So I just wanted to kind of put that in there. While there isn't religion in this one, as far as all of society, it is focusing on the religion part.
Okay. Are there any supernatural aspects to it? You know, you think about Harry Potter, you know, he's waving some wand and things happen, but you think when you got God on your side, like you can really flip the world upside down. Are there any elements like that in the book at all?
Not necessarily. It's more of just prayer and just focusing on what the overall mission for life is, and just helping people to come to Christ, which is really difficult in a society where it's banned. And it's not supernatural yet, but I'll think about that when I'm writing the second one.
Okay. I love it. Indescribable Faith, book 1, Fleeing the EFA by Jenna Wright. Wow, this is pretty cool. So again, tell people where they can buy your book. We're trying to get it out there and get it sold.
Yeah, you can find it at barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com, or even on Walmart's website. So just anywhere where you can find it online, probably, basically.
Okay. Very good. Jenna Wright, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
On Inside Indy. And we'll be back with more here on Inside Indy after this. And we're back here on Inside Indy, and we're going to talk about trauma. And I know when I think of trauma, I think of something traumatic that's happened, say a car accident, but the definition of trauma is much broader than you might think. And here to tell us about that is Skye Berger. You are the Chief Encouragement Officer and President of Door Opener Academy, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Welcome to the show.
All right, well, thank you. The welcome is, I can't believe that I'm here, so thank you very much.
Very good. Door Opener Academy. What is that?
Well, Door Opener Academy is a youth-serving organization where we provide life skills to youth, their families, and the youth workers that serve them. And so really, Door Opener Academy was birthed out of my work in state government. I was the lead on several projects that rolled out for older youth in foster care and children that have mental health issues with the Indiana Department of Child Services. And so I had interactions with a lot of families, and what I realized was that families just needed to understand how empowered they were, and they always wanted to give back and say, how can I help, or how can I be a resource? And so I started Door Opener Academy when I went out on my own as a consultant so that we can help empower people, again, with those life tools.
Okay. So when you worked for the state, what were, you mentioned mental health issues in our young people, but could you break that down and describe those situations, what they look like, and the things that you saw, so that we better understand what's going on with some of our young people?
Right. Well, in my capacity, I actually served in several different areas. I was a case manager, and as a case manager, any kind of case that you can think about seeing where families are in crisis, where a child would be, it will cause a child to be removed from their home of their biological parents, or even their adoptive parents being removed from their homes. Any of those circumstances were really up. I've seen everything from drug-induced babies, children that have been killed. I've never had any of those cases. I've had caseworkers that would have those cases. Colleagues that would have those cases. And it's a tough job, I might say. Yeah, it's a really tough job. And so our children are suffering a lot. And I want to say that our children don't even have to be in foster care or in those situations to be suffering, but I just think that there's a lot of hurt happening. And so while I was with the Indiana Department of Child Services, I did see a lot. And it taught me a lot as well. I kept a list of things that really our services couldn't provide to the family. Some of those things that were very immediate and they needed as tangible things that we just didn't have. And that's where I like to think Door Opener Academy steps in so that we can serve humans where they are. Where I think that the state does the best that it can for stepping in as a parent, raising children, having foster parents in place. But sometimes our families just need that support to know, it's okay, you found yourself in a bad situation, but there's support to help you get through it.
So what were some of those tangibles that you saw that they needed, or that you provide that the state they just don't go that deeply into it? So give us some examples.
I think that we've done better. I would say that with the transition, I'm not familiar with the new director, but I think that over the years, we did really well with transforming from an us against them. Whether it was meant to be that way or not, I can tell you just how our families would say we appeared, how the state appeared to serve. I think that Door Opener Academy, for the most part, we employ people that have been through the system. My team right now is changing from a contract basis. Actually, I'm going into employee-based basis because many of those people have had children that had mental health issues of their own, and they've either not necessarily had a case with the Department of Child Services. We don't have any of those on our team, but they have accessed mental health services. They've been in juvenile justice, perhaps, and also education services. For their children that were just struggling in many ways. And so the service that I think that we are really, really good at is meeting humans where they are. I think that sometimes policies and principles of organizations get in the way, and I really believe that there's a big shift from serving humans and human services. And I like to think that that is what we provide at Door Opener Academy.
Okay. What is the trauma-informed approach?
So the trauma-informed approach is really a philosophy and a framework of modalities to help people that have experienced trauma. So if I could just really identify what trauma is all of those opportunities and vulnerabilities that happen to us during life. As you mentioned before, you think of a traumatic injury, maybe a car accident, and those can be traumas as well. We think about traumatic brain injuries. All of those things are traumas. But with a trauma, we have to think about the experience itself, the event, and then the experience and how that event and experience affects the person that is involved. And so the trauma-informed approach is really having an organization move forward in a way that they are aware of trauma and its long-stretching effects. For example, a trauma can occur, let's say in the studio, and we all will experience that event, but it will affect each of us in a different way. And so the trauma-informed approach is really about delivering services in a way that meets everyone's needs.
Okay. Now, we mentioned the car accident. Let's describe some other traumatic experiences that you would be addressing.
Okay, so I would say the basis for a lot of the services that we have can be based off of the Adverse Childhood Experience Study. The Adverse Childhood Experience Study was, I really like giving the background, but that's like a 3-day training that I usually give. But the Center for Disease Control and also Kaiser Permanente, they came together with a research study based on really Dr. Filletti's study from the Kaiser Permanente for, I believe it's called extreme obesity. But he was doing some work in obesity, and one of his clients was over 400 pounds. In a matter of a year, they were able to take her down to 132 pounds. And she seemed to manage to gain weight in a period of 3 weeks that even Dr. Filletti thought was outrageous. And so he started to interview some of those participants of that study, and there were 252 of them. And as he interviewed them, they all mentioned some type of sexual childhood trauma. So Dr. Filletti thought, well, this has everything to do with the fact that they have been traumatized. And that young lady that I spoke about before, who was over 400 pounds, she had a sexual proposition by a man at work that spiraled her to gain that weight in that less of time. Whereas if she would have continued on that path, she would have gained more weight than she would have lost. And again, to even Dr. Filletti, that was something that just wasn't even possible.
So what was going on with her and the gentleman? Did he? You said a proposition. Did he try to rape her?
It would have been appropriate. He was a sexual advance where he may have said something as simple as, hey, you want to go out on a date, or you look really well, I want to have sex with you. It was nothing that would have been deemed inappropriate from my understanding. But the thing about it is that it triggered her, and she had a incestuous relationship with her grandfather for several years. And so that sexual childhood trauma was a trigger for her. And this is a really heavy topic to talk about, but when we talk about ACEs, it looks at 3 types of trauma. So it's abuse, neglect, and then also household dysfunction. And so there are 10 different factors that actually were the most prevalent in the obesity study that were taken, so that those 10 factors were looked at as probably factors that affected everyone. The study consisted of 17,000 people that were middle-aged, middle-class Americans. They all had insurance through Kaiser Permanente. And 2/3 of them reported some type of factor that resulted in their life. In fact, 1 out of 11 people has 6 or more ACEs. And so that means that they've either experienced some abuse, neglect, emotional abuse. They've experienced not living with their biological parents, them being separated or divorced, someone living in their home that had a mental health issue, someone that has substance abuse issue, violence against their mother. And if any of those instances relate to you, you would give yourself a 1, and that's how you score the ACEs, and that's how you can tell what someone's ACE score is.
Okay. Wow. So then how do you go about helping them through your organization? How does that work?
So
how do you find people?
How do we find people? I know. Well, really, we are.
They're not hard to find.
They're
I'm just
not.
saying.
They're everywhere. Trauma is so prevalent. In fact, if we think, I'm a youth-serving organization, so I don't work directly with youth unless they sign up for our private services. But we serve organizations. So we work in schools. We work with. I train in the Boys and Girls Club. I train at YMCA's, and in that way, I believe that I am empowering the staff to help our young people, because I believe I'm a big proponent of renewal and self-care practices, and that's in fact another track that we have at Door Opener Academy, renewal experiences for youth workers. Other organizations beyond youth serving have tapped into our services, but when it really comes to being trauma informed and delivering the trauma informed approach, the number one thing that we can do is make sure that the workforce is okay. And so I really start with having a basis for ACEs. So the Adverse Childhood Experience Study, we go through that. I think it's important, if you're working with someone that can potentially trigger you, that you know what your triggers are. Many times when I present ACEs, people aren't even aware that they qualify, right? Or would have those experiences.
Okay. We have less than a minute left. So very quickly, the organizations that you would be reaching out to very quickly, who are watching right now, you would serve? For example?
I would serve in churches. I believe that there's a great need for trauma exposure to be talked about in churches and any youth serving organizations, libraries, anyone that needs any professional development that touches a young person could benefit from our services.
Okay, sounds good. So your information's on the screen. Skye Berger, who is the Chief Encouragement Officer and President of Door Opener Academy. Thanks so much for joining us here on Inside Indy.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Kelly.
And broadening our horizons. We appreciate it so much.
All right, thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I'm Kelly Vaughn. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Welcome back to Inside Indy. I'm Kelly Vaughn. The holidays are here, and you know what that means, that your schedule is about to get packed with hosting duties in your home. Here to help you spend more time celebrating the holidays and less time stressing out in the kitchen is Chef Julie Hardigan. Good morning, Julie.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Julie, how can we party more and stress less?
Exactly. That's the whole idea, right? Enjoying yourself with family and friends, not being stuck in the kitchen and like popping into your own party, paying short little visits. So I've partnered with some really great brands and have excellent shortcuts to share with you that are really going to save you tons of time so you can feel like a guest at your own party too.
Julie, how can we party more and stress less?
So one of my first tips, honestly, for everyone at home, take advantage of technology in the kitchen. If your kitchen is as smart as you are, you can really slash a lot of time and be much more efficient. So LG is unveiling their first Wi-Fi enabled combination double wall oven with cooking speeds 4 times faster than a conventional oven. It works with Innit and Smart Chef cooking technologies, as well as your Google Home and your Alexa that everyone loves. So to make a gorgeous turkey like this one, all you would need to do is connect your LG device to Innit, program in the weight of the turkey, and then follow the prompts, and it's gonna send the cooking directions straight to your oven, so you're guaranteed juicy, gorgeous results for way less work. And for more information about this great oven, you can go to lg.com.
Any more tips on time saving?
Oh, for sure. And this one is such a basic one, but I always encourage people to do this. Stock yourself up at the beginning of the holiday season with everything you're going to need for all different entertaining occasions, right? And now soup is such a natural that you're going to want to serve for the holidays. It's so comforting and delicious. And Idaho and Steakhouse soups deliver comfort made easy in just 5 minutes flat. It's got slow-cooked restaurant quality flavor at home. And it's made with real Idaho potatoes, but all you need to do is add water, and creamy, hearty soup is ready to serve to your guests. It's a total crowd pleaser. And it's available in 4 delicious flavors. There's creamy potato, loaded potato, cheddar broccoli, and cheddar potato. So Idaho and Steakhouse soups, you can visit idahoan.com for more information about these. And then pizza. I mean, there are so many different occasions to get together for the holidays, some more casual where you're gathering people together. And Dr. Utker Virtuoso Pizza is the perfect choice for gathering people together. It's made with fresh picked ingredients, so after one bite, you won't even remember that it was ever frozen. It's available in 14 delicious flavors with 2 different crust types, and it takes next to no time to prepare. So I highly recommend keeping some of this on hand for all those different get-togethers, and you can go to virtuosopizza.com to learn more about this great one too. And then finally, I mean, you gotta have some wine and some bubbly and something fun to serve your guests, and people can be a little bit confused about what would pair well with all of these different dishes. So I've got 2 excellent choices for you today from Cavit, from Italy, wine from Italy. The #1 imported Pinot Noir from Cavit is medium-bodied and smooth finished. It goes so well with turkey and roasted meats in your main dishes. And then the latest addition to the Cavit collection is a gorgeous, bubbly, sparkling Prosecco. It's a little bit fruity and lightly sweet, so it goes so well with things like appetizers and seafood and all of your different party apps. So again, keep yourself stocked up on things like this at the beginning of the holiday season so you're not running out to the store and you're ready to entertain at a moment's notice when guests are over.
Julie, where can we go for more information?
Yeah, for sure. You can check out my website, cookingwjulie.com, and you can also follow me on Instagram at cookingwjulie. I share lots of recipes and entertaining tips there too.
Thank you so much, Chef Julie, for all of those wonderful holiday tips.
You too. Happy holidays. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching Inside Indy. I'm Kelly Vaughn. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.